Conor Benn, Chris Eubank looks like it's going to happen. Just a word on that, because that's a big fight. Obviously, the dads get involved, and it's even bigger.
Well, as you said it there, the dads, that sells the fight in itself, because obviously Chris Eubank fought, you know, Nigel Benn back in the day, and there was a big rivalry. They didn't like each other, and I think that rivalry has stayed because it looks like Chris Eubank and Conor Benn don't like each other either. So it's the build up to it, the press conferences, the promos, everything's going to be, you know, make people want to tune in and buy it, because it's going to be pay-per-view, obviously. And it's an intriguing fight. Conor Benn, his rise to where he is now has been amazing, man. You can see the progression from when he first started. Remember, he had that bad fight where he got dropped, and it was questionable if he won that fight. People said he lost that fight, and from then he's just sorted everything out and gone about his work quietly and build. Whereas Chris Eubank, you know, the jury's still out with him because he's had a lot of fights as a pro, but he hasn't really been tested against those world level, you know, fighters. So it's going to be an interesting fight, man.
Yeah, and then just on the AJ Usyk, there's no promo to talk about. I don't know what's happening with it, but it's in Saudi. Obviously, Robert Garcia is going to be in AJ's corner, who's like so experienced. Trainer of the year in 2012, had I think like 14 world champions. So he's got experience in his corner, but like, is that going to be enough?
You know, AJ versus Usyk, I mean, it's a hard one. It's like you got Usyk, who's a masterful boxer, and I think it helped Usyk beating Joshua, as in profile-wise, because a lot of people, I mean, I was in this gym, I was going, do you know who Usyk is? And people were like, who's Usyk? Who's Usyk? You know what I mean? And it's only until when he beat Joshua, they're like, oh, yo, now we know Usyk. You know what I mean? But I was telling people about Usyk before, how he's a high-level, former, undisputed cruiserweight world champion. This ain't going to be a easy fight for Joshua. But you know what? He's changed trainer. I don't know if Robert Garcia is going to change much. I assume that he's probably going to get him to go forward more and put the pressure on Usyk in an intelligent way, obviously. I personally think if he's the Joshua that fought Vladimir Klitschko and still has that intelligence behind what he was still trying to do in the first Usyk fight and blend it together, you could see Joshua winning the fight. But then again, him coming forward trying to look to knock Usyk out could play into Usyk's hands, because he could walk onto one himself. We know that Joshua got hurt twice in that fight, and arguably you can argue that if there was another round, Joshua would have got stopped in that last round. So it's an intriguing fight. And then you got Usyk. Now he's not fighting for himself. He's fighting for the Ukraine. He's got his Ukraine behind him. You know what I mean? And he's got that mentality now. He's come from the front line of war. On the front line. He weren't sitting back. He was actually in the war front line. So when you got someone coming from the front line to fight Anthony Joshua, who is Anthony Joshua to Usyk? You know what I mean? He's got a different mentality now. This ain't just for him. This is for his whole country. So you got that. So that could play against him, because his mind ain't there in the fight. It's with Ukraine and everything that's going on. Or it could be a blessing for him, where he goes in that with that war mentality and wants to kill Joshua. You know what I mean? With intelligence, obviously, because he's a high-level fighter.
Yeah, that was a good breakdown, to be fair. One thing people don't necessarily think about Usyk as well is, like, he can't get the stoppage, but if you just, like you say, watch the first fight back, then it is possible he landed some good shots.
Oh, yeah, Usyk is very deceiving with his power. He's more of a... He doesn't break... He breaks you down physically and mentally. That's the thing with Usyk. It's more the mental side. When you're in there with Usyk, like you could see with the first fight against Joshua, you could see mentally Joshua was breaking down, because Usyk doesn't stay still for 1 second. For someone that's such a big guy, he keeps moving and moving for every second of the round, changing looks, changing levels, jabbing off to the side, moving this way, moving that way. And mentally, that's draining for an opponent. So Joshua has to be on it for this fight. This has to be the best performance Joshua's ever had in his life to win this fight.
Definitely, man. All right, appreciate your time, bro. Nice one.